What's up, guys? This is Coach Grant with First Down Training, and today we're going to be breaking down a route that DBs cannot guard if you run it correctly. So I hope this video helps you guys out. Hope it could teach you a few new things. But also, fellas, if you are a wide receiver or a quarterback and would like to train with us this offseason, we are going to be traveling out to 14 more states across the country for 2-day-long QB and wide receiver training camps. Next up on our camp tour, we'll be coming out to Phoenix, Arizona, then Charlotte, Dallas, the DMV, St. Louis, Honolulu, Boston, Cleveland, Austin, Seattle, Newark, Denver, and Los Angeles. So if you guys would like some more information on that, how you guys can sign up to train with us this offseason, check out that very first link in the description below. We'd absolutely love to have you out. Let's get started with this video. So now, first things first, we are going to be talking about a post route versus outside shade off man coverage. Okay, so now quarterback is to the inside. I know you guys can't really tell because of the camera angle, but QB's to the inside and we have to run a post route. So what do you think is important? Number one, before every single route that we run against man coverage, zone coverage, we have to identify two things. DB's leverage. So is he inside? Is he head up or is he outside? Then we have to be able to identify how close or how far he is. Is he in press? Is he in catch? Is he an off man or is he way off in zone? Right? So those are the three things we need to do, two things we need to identify. So outside shade off man coverage, right? So if I got to run a post for his outside shade off man, think about what his responsibilities are. His responsibility is to protect the outside. Don't let us run a 10-yard out, a corner, a fade. Force everything to the inside because he probably has what to the inside? Help. So as a wide receiver, we want to structure our route like this. He comes off the ball and see how he attacks the leverage of the DB and breaks on this thing. That is exactly how you would run that post in that situation. Nothing fancy, doesn't do anything crazy. It's just the right type of stem and the right type of move. So when you guys have outside leverage coverage and you have a route, or let's say just any type of leverage, inside, outside, whatever, when you have to run a route that is away from the leverage. So let's say it's outside shade and I have to run an inside breaking route. I always want to threaten his leverage. I always want to try to hold him to the outside. So I create a bigger window and a bigger throwing lane for my QB. So when this wide receiver comes off here, he initially starts out by going at the inside shoulder, right? Now, the reason why he does that is because that is how you would run an outside breaking route versus outside leverage. Like, let's say you had to run a 10-yard out. You would go right at the inside shoulder and inside hip of the DB. My goal is to get him to flip fade so I could slip under him. So that's what we're trying to do at first. Let's attack that inside shoulder, then let's go with his leverage because that is what's going to hold him to the outside. If we were to just take off and run the post, you would be running right into the safety help that he has in the middle of the field. And I know this is one-on-ones, I get it, but in a real game scenario, he has help. And we're going to be showing a real game scenario here in a second. So we have to make sure that we threaten his leverage. So when he runs at his leverage and he attacks him, that is what holds him and creates a bigger throwing window for my QB. So this post trap versus outside shade off man, unguardable if we know how to attack his leverage and we know how to pair my routes and releases together. So let's play this again, full speed one more time. Great job by this wide receiver stemming to the outside, holding the DB, and then being able to get a step on him. So now, I told you we were going to look at a game realistic situation. So let's look at this route from CeeDee Lamb. Now, this is going to be a zone coverage situation, not off man. But think about the responsibilities of outside leverage. Do you think it really changes off man versus zone? No, it doesn't change. And that's why as a wide receiver, you can keep things simple. Yes, wide receivers, I want you to know the entire coverage. I want you to know what cover 2 is, what cover 4, cover 3, Tampa 2, 2-man. I want you to know all of them. But to keep it simple in terms of our route process, how we run routes, it is based on the distance the DB is away from us, keeping it simple terms, and what his leverage is. Is he inside shade, head up, or outside shade? That is how you structure your routes. Off man, outside leverage, and a zone coverage, outside leverage, you would run the route the exact same way. It might be a little different, but you would run it the exact same way. So let's watch what CeeDee Lamb does here. Because remember, when he's outside leverage, what do we have to do? We have to attack his leverage. So in zone coverage, that's just different terms. And there's that safety that we were talking about. So in zone coverage, that's just different terms. In zone, usually, DB is turned to the quarterback. He's got his eyes to the inside to maybe identify like a number 2 receiver. Like let's say they're going post, and let's say the number 2 is running a wheel. If this was cover 3, that wheel would be going right into his zone, which is a popular play with the post from the outside. So that's why that DB's turned to the inside. But his eyes aren't necessarily like on us directly the entire time. He's kind of peeking to the inside. At a certain point, it might turn into man. But it's the same principles apply. We got to try to widen him because we know if this is like cover 3, what does he have to the inside? He's got a free safety, and that's that help that we were talking about. That's why the route doesn't change. Just because he's in zone or just because he's an off man, that doesn't change a dang thing about what our process needs to be off the line. So we go here, CeeDee Lamb does a move called a vertical set, where you give a jab to the inside. We're trying to make it look like a post. And then he takes 3 steps to the DB's blind spot, AKA his leverage, right? We still attack his leverage because the goal is to make him think fade and to widen, so I have a bigger window now. Because if Lamb just takes off and runs, what happens? This DB will be right at his hip pocket. And guess what? That safety will be probably here taking his head off or picking the ball off if we just run it. Because that DB is not going to be not physical. He's going to get hands on us. He's going to squeeze us to the inside. His goal being outside leverage, don't get beat outside. Force everything to your safety. And if we just let him do that by running the route, we don't know how to structure my route. And just because it's zone, maybe we panic. Just because it's off man, maybe we panic. Keep things simple. It's about the distance the DB is from you and what his leverage is. And if we understand that, you guys will not be guardable. They will not be able to guard you when you are running this post route. So let's play this full speed, and then let's get to the harder stuff now. Inside shade off man. How do I run a post when that DB's not outside shade? Is that's easy. You just got to attack him. What do I do when he's sitting right at that break point? How do I run that route? And it's fairly similar, but just a tad different. Let's play this thing full speed one more time. Great job by Lamb, giving that move inside, attacking that blind spot, and then winning on the post. So now let's get to this next example here. So this is Jonte Cook, Texas commit, running a post route against inside shade off man. You see how this DB's kind of lined up at the hash and Cook is lined up to the left of the hash. So that tells me that this DB's lined up inside shade. Trying to prevent the inside, does not want to give up the post, does not want to give up the dig. He is going to be super disciplined and just sit to the inside the absolute best he can. So what a lot of wide receivers think you should do in this case is, oh, I want to square up the DB. I want to angle my stem. I want to stem him to the inside. I want to try to attack his midline or his inside shoulder and his inside hip. And if I could stem to the inside and attack him, my hope is that he will backpedal and I could break right off in front of him. But here's the thing, fellas. That's not going to happen against a disciplined DB. Because remember, his goal is to protect the inside. So if that's my only plan of action, it's not going to work. I could maybe stem him initially, but ultimately where I have to threaten him is his outside shoulder and his outside hip. Because number one, when I'm running a post route to the leverage, right, to inside leverage, I have to keep spacing. People struggle with this against press. They'll come off the ball, and remember, the two top things that I have to identify when I'm coming up to the line, how close he is to me and what his leverage is. So even when it's inside shade press, wide receivers try to force the inside release. They're uncomfortable taking an outside release versus inside shade press. We can't have that, guys, because if we try to force it, DB's responsibility is to not give it up. Get hands, prevent the inside. So we're going to end up getting moved off our platform, squeezed to the inside, and running this post and end up catching it at like the opposite hash. That's not a realistic route. A realistic route, we need to be able to keep spacing. We need to be able to run the route just like how it's drawn up on paper, and that comes from attacking the outside shoulder. So let's watch what Cook does here. I know it's a lot of talking, but fellas, you guys got to understand this. It's not just about running the cool clips and doing the move and learning the move. You have to know when to use it and how to actually apply it. So let's play this full speed. So Cook comes off the ball, hits a rocker step at the outside shoulder, and runs that post. Ball was a little late, but you see how much space he is giving the quarterback to throw him. He's not making this post cut at the middle of the field because he did this big inside stem. He attacked the outside shoulder. So you see, he initially stems to the inside at first, like he's running at the DB. Because what that will do is make it look like an out route or a corner route. Or that's how you would run that out or corner versus inside shade off man. Remember, when we're running a route away from the leverage, we want to attack his leverage. So if I'm running an outside route versus inside leverage, I want to attack his leverage when it's off man or zone. And that gives me more space to the outside, or a bigger window, I should say, for my QB. When he's inside shade, his help would be the sideline. Like when he's outside shade, his help would be the safety. So when we attack him at first, that makes it look the same. And that's what all great route runners and all great wide receivers can do. So when he attacks him, then what does he do? He bursts to the outside. He throws that rocker step. He sells with his hip, sells with his shoulder. It's attacking the outside shoulder because that is what's going to get the DB to do this, open up his hips. Because there comes a point in time on every single man coverage rep where a DB has to commit to something. He's either going to commit to holding his leverage or he's going to commit to the fade or to the out or to the outside breaking route like this. And again, if he commits to his leverage, fine. If he just sits right there and I end up running into him, okay, fair play. But if you want to play it like that, I'm just going to go run a fade the next player. I'm just going to go run an out route, and that will eventually get him to move. But we have to make sure that we know how to run this route. We know how to pair my routes together. We know that it's about attacking the outside shoulder and the outside hip when we have a route to the inside leverage. Inside route versus inside shade off man, that is how I have to play it. So let's play this again, full speed one more time. Great job by this wide receiver stemming to the inside initially to make it look like an out and then threatening the outside of that DB. So now let's talk about this next example here. Same thing for Jonte Cook. Inside leverage, right? So what was that last one trying to sell, right? That last post route. This is still a post route. This is just a more creative way to do it. But that last one was trying to sell an out route with his stem, right? He stemmed him at first, and then he gave that hard rocker step to make it look like an out route. So when we're doing this move, and let's say you want to run an out route using something we call a rocker step, you can use a triple rocker step to get separation on this post and still accomplish the same like route running rules, if you will, against this inside shade off man coverage DB. So let's play this full speed. Let's watch what Cook does here. He comes off the ball and he hits him with a 1-2-3 at the outside shoulder, freezes the DB, and then is able to create space over the top and make that catch. So let's talk about it, right? Inside shade, we got to make sure that we attack outside shoulder and hip. Now, to add some creativity to my route running, I got to make my routes look the same. And again, if you're like kind of a beginner route runner, you're a younger wide receiver, like it's totally fine if you don't do these types of moves and you just run off the ball, attack his outside shoulder, we get him to flip, and you slip underneath. This is just kind of the next step up. And the reason why I say this is because sometimes when DBs are real talented, they're real good, they can kind of figure out what we're doing. You know what I mean? They can figure out that, okay, when he goes at my outside shoulder, if it's super vanilla and we don't really add other things to it, if he just goes at my outside shoulder, I'm just going to sit right here because I know he doesn't run a fade like that. I know he doesn't run an out route like that. He only runs a post route like that. So it's just another tool that you can add to your tool belt. So when we come off the ball here and you see how he gives this 1-2. So he goes 1-2. What does that look a lot like? That looks a lot like a move you would use if you were running a corner, if you were running an out route. And that's how we pair my routes together. If you don't believe me and you don't think this is something you could use in a game, go watch Cooper Kupp highlights. He runs his routes off of a single cut, a 1-2, and then a 1-2-3 at the top of the break because it all looks similar, fellas. It is so hard to play DB when you're going up against a wide receiver who does that. So now watch what he does on this last step. He goes here. Let's play it back. 1-2, makes it look like an out route. Hips and shoulders are committed. He's stepping quick, and he gets that DB to open up. And that is what creates some space. He keeps spacing on the play because he attacked the outside shoulder and hip, kept his route running rule that we talk about, and was able to win. Fellas, if you know how to attack off-man coverage with a post route, that is one of the best routes that you can run because if you can give your quarterback space to throw you on this, there is nobody there. If it's man coverage, fellas, chances are sometimes it might be cover 0, might be cover 1, whatever it is. We know if it's cover 1 or cover 3, we can widen the DB and create a bigger window. If it's cover 0, man, there ain't nobody there. That's a touchdown if we can get separation on this play. Let's play this thing again full speed, but it comes down to knowing what to do. I could make a video all based on that rocker step and just teach you how to do it. But if we don't know when to do it, we don't know the right situation, there is no point in even learning it because you're never going to be able to use it in an actual game. Let's play this thing again, full speed one more time. Great job by Cook here, hitting that triple rocker step and making it look like that rocker step out route. All right, fellas, really want to thank you for watching. I really appreciate it. If you guys have any questions at all, don't hesitate to leave those in the comment section below. Always appreciate the feedback. Always really great to hear from you guys and have any kind of suggestions that you have. We appreciate it. And again, if you guys would like to come out to one of our 14 remaining off-season camps, check out that very first link in the description below. We'd love to have you there. I'll see you guys next time.